Today, we need to talk about something incredibly difficult. It's a story about a quiet afternoon in a small Canadian town that was shattered by an unimaginable act of violence. This is what we know about the tragedy that struck Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia on February 10th, 2026. We're going to walk through what happened, the official response, and what this all means for a community and a nation in mourning. That single sentence really captures the heart of it. On that day, a mass shooting at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and a home nearby claimed 10 lives, and that includes the person suspected of carrying out the attack. Over 24 others were injured. It's a story of devastating loss in a place you'd least expect. So to really understand the weight of this tragedy, you first have to understand the place where it happened. The setting here is absolutely key to understanding just how deep the impact goes. We're talking about a pretty remote town, tucked away in northern BC. And when people say close-knit, it's not just some nice-sounding phrase. It's the reality there. This is a community where everybody knows everybody, where your neighbors are your friends. Think about this for a second. The town has fewer than 2,500 people. In a community that small, something like this isn't just a news story happening to strangers. No. It's a personal tragedy that affects almost everyone. And right at the center of that community is the high school. It has only about 175 students in total, from grade 7 all the way to 12. So the people involved, they weren't just anonymous faces in a hallway. They were friends, classmates, people you see every single day. Okay, so let's get into the timeline of what actually happened that afternoon. Now, this is a factual account based on the information that's been released by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP. So the first call for help came in around 1:20 p.m. Within just minutes, police officers were on site and heading into the school. It was very shortly after they arrived that they discovered just how horrific the situation was. It wasn't just at the school, but at a nearby home as well. And here's the heartbreaking breakdown. 6 people were found deceased inside the school. Another victim passed away on the way to the hospital. And then 2 more victims were found at that second location, the nearby residence. The suspected shooter was also found deceased from what police are calling a self-inflicted wound. So in total, 10 people lost their lives that day. That is an absolutely staggering number for any town. But for a place as small and tight-knit as Tumbler Ridge, it's just devastating. And beyond those who died, 27 other people were injured. Now, most of them were treated for injuries that weren't life-threatening, but 2 people were hurt so badly they had to be airlifted to a hospital. It just speaks to the sheer chaos of the attack. Amid all that horror and confusion, first responders and law enforcement launched an immediate, coordinated response. Let's take a look at the critical actions they took to secure the area and protect people. The response was incredibly fast. First responders were there in minutes. They began methodically moving through the school, evacuating students and staff, while the entire school district was put on lockdown to prevent any more harm. At the same time, emergency alerts were being sent out to the whole community. And one of the most crucial messages came once the suspect was located. The immediate danger was over. Officials made it very clear that the situation was contained, which was so important to help stop the spread of panic. But the response wasn't just tactical. Right away, support systems were put in place. They set up counseling services and created safe areas where parents could reunite with their kids, providing that vital psychological first aid in the wake of such trauma. All right, so now we have to turn to the questions that are on everyone's mind. Who was responsible for this? And why? Here is what we know so far from the investigation, which is still very much ongoing. Police have said that the suspect was a female. Some early accounts described her as wearing a dress and having brown hair. Her official identity, though, has not been released yet. That's a standard procedure, as authorities have to notify her family first. And that, of course, leaves the biggest question of all completely unanswered. What was the motive? As of right now, police haven't released any information about what could have possibly driven someone to commit such a terrible act of violence. It's the main focus of their investigation.
The shockwaves from this shooting are being felt far beyond Tumbler Ridge. So let's look at how officials have reacted and the profound impact this is having on both the local community and really the entire country.
The country's leaders responded right away. Prime Minister Mark Carney said he was devastated, and he even canceled his travel plans to focus on the tragedy, promising that the full support of the federal government was there for the community.
And that same message of support was echoed at the provincial level. British Columbia's Premier, David Eby, and other local leaders all voiced their solidarity with the grieving families and made sure to praise the bravery of the first responders.
But really, when it comes down to it, the deepest impact is felt right there in Tumbler Ridge. In a town where everyone is connected in some way, the emotional trauma, the psychological wounds, they're shared by everyone. The road to healing is going to be incredibly long. So why is this one tragedy capturing the attention of the entire nation? Let's zoom out a bit and look at where this event fits into the larger Canadian conversation about community, safety, and gun violence. Make no mistake, this is one of the deadliest mass shootings in the history of Canada. And while these events are tragically more frequent in some other countries, they are still relatively rare here. In the past, tragedies like this have led to major changes in gun laws, like bans on certain types of firearms. So this will no doubt reignite those difficult but necessary debates about gun control, mental health services, and how we can keep our communities safe. As the police continue their investigation and a small town begins the impossible process of grieving, this tragedy leaves all of us with some very tough questions. It really forces a national conversation about how we protect our schools, our kids, and how we can prevent a horror like this from ever happening again.